Let her conquer fear and fall like a soul. I run into the heat of day, like a knife I fight until the fight is won. In the rain I save each and every one till this war is won.
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh yeah.
Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, a crossover that was a no-brainer for the boys of Alpha Dream and Intelligent Systems to bring together the two Mario RPG series into one glorious powerhouse of video game design. With the intricate combat design of Alpha Dream Corporation and the wacky world building of Paper Mario, this game was going to be the one to beat out all others, if we weren't talking about these companies in the year 2015. Since this game was produced after both Paper Mario Sticker Star and Mario and Luigi Dream Team, it isn't surprising that this game flopped when both companies have forgotten what they used to make their games, the titles people wanted to see back in the day, and those faults are highlighted in this series' one crossover. The major problem is that Alpha Dream decided to rope Paper Mario the character into the Mario and Luigi world in order to justify the whole crossover thing, and that idea makes about as much sense as doing a Frozen crossover and the only thing you bring over from that movie is the snow. Paper Mario as a character was the weakest part of all the games that he's appeared in. Paper Mario does the generic protagonist shtick. He gets all the powers, he does all the quests personally, he meets all the other characters, and he's the one that saves the world, and he does all of this mainly because Paper Mario is supposed to be a cipher for the player. Someone there so that the player can insert themselves into their video game experience. Paper Mario is not a character in his games, and what used to make the series good is that all that weird, funny nonsense was happening around Paper Mario, not to him. All the other characters in the games had personality and character traits to create an enticing story of apocalyptic disasters, and Paper Mario was just there to go on the ride. So bringing him in as a main character was not the best idea, especially when the excellent world building and writing of the Paper Mario series was coincidentally forgotten about when Luigi knocked the Paper Mario book onto the floor. We've talked about this before with Dream Team screw-ups, that the story and plotline is an especially important element of design when it comes to role-playing games. So when that part of the game decides to fuck up, it feels like you should write "we have no idea what we're doing" on the back of the box blurb in neon finger paint. It's even more noticeable in a Mario RPG because these games were originally being made to lampoon the cliches and tropes of the main Mario series. So when Paper Jam comes in with the typical princess rescue plot as its main idea, it gets even more disappointing and facepalm worthy. At this point in video games, if you decide to go with a princess rescue plot, you might as well not bother even making a game. Literally 1,000 other games have gone with this exact plot, and you can't make it interesting anymore. It's been done, it's been parodied, it's been remade and remastered. Just stop with this tired idea. In Paper Jam, the only thing the two princesses add to the game are to be in the many cutscenes of this game coming up with the bad jokes. Thousand Year Door showed you how this was done. Just give Princess Peach something to do, something to contribute. Learn something while in captivity and pass it on to Mario. Also, the fun mini-games of Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door were a nice break between the long Mario chapters that gave those subplots their charm. But in the contemporary days of the Mario RPG, the mini-games in Paper Jam are like a plague of locusts, numerous and deadly. By the end of the game, it wasn't even a joke just how many mini-games this iteration had. It was at least a third of the entire experience. It wasn't enough that these distractions were getting predictable and obtusely difficult and time-consuming. The random difficulty of these minigames were pile-driving the pacing into a pedestrian barricade made of titanium. turning this sort of doofy quest to save the Mushroom Kingdom vaguely into a swamp slog for the ages. The mini-games also highlight another huge problem the game has, and it was just how far this game strayed from the creativity of games past. Back in the old days, you would go through a patchwork of strange, unconnected levels full of their own specific goals, missions, characters, and enemies. They gave you something new to do around every corner, and something new to achieve. Yet in Paper Jam, the game only gives us 2 goals, and you would not believe them if you knew that they were in a Mario RPG. The main drive in Paper Jam is to save the 2 princesses from 2 Bowsers, and also save as many paper toads as you possibly can. That's it. There aren't any plot devices to grab, no end-level bosses, no structure to the game itself. It's just get all the toads. The most generic of the boring, uncontributing RPG NPCs in existence. By the end of the game, you are required to save 200 of these damned aliens from the page world, and the reason that Mario and Luigi and Mario do this is because the game randomly gives the 3 brothers new power-ups when they collect enough paper toads. Their trio and their bro attacks are dependent on this single quest line, along with the game's unique selling point, the paper craft battles. Yes, thankfully Alpha Dream decided to go in a new direction for their epic boss fights after they completely screwed up the kaiju fight design in Dream Team, and for how they did, I'll say that it's a nice effort. The papercraft battles end up like a drawn-out Mario Party minigame with how many gimmicks and new controls Alpha Dream throws at the player. And then there's the uncanniness to the character design in these sections, that make it feel like a bunch of animated chess pieces or storefront mannequins are fighting each other. Plus, why the hell did both the Mario and Bowser crews settle on cardboard colossi to use as their death wagons? These sections don't have the writing chops and slick combat design of the kaiju fights in Bowser's Inside Story, and the whole thing just comes off as a weird feature for the game, just for the sake of having a weird feature, but not in an endearing way. Another thing you can toss in that rubbish bin is this game's entire world-building scheme, which replaces the deep, intriguing levels of the Paper Mario series for levels that are so shallow and meaningless that even Sticker Star's struggling design looks Shakespearean in its shadows. You could literally go from overworld to desert to the spooky forest level without missing a beat in the playthrough, because absolutely none of these levels have meaningful quests, plots, or even unique NPCs to speak to, barring a tiny handful of maybe 5. It's kind of hilarious to write this out, but Toadette is pretty much going to be the cream of the crop in terms of fun characters in this game. And this is a character that only barely exists in the Mario franchise anymore, spending a lot of her screen time being an amazingly stupid Deus Ex Machina and reminding you of the hack job that Captain Toad Treasure Tracker was, and yes, they directly reference it because who the hell cares? Oh ho ho, and you know, guys, that I saved the best for last in these review videos. And now we get to talk about how, once again, Alpha Dream cannot design an engaging combat system to save their goddamn lives from reviewer destruction. For the first 12 hours of the game, I thought that it was going to be alright. Hell, I was even going to say that it was a touch too hand-holdy, and maybe Alpha Dream learned their lesson from the obtuse arbitrary mess that Dream Team had going on with how many cars they were stacking the enemies' decks with, but then I hit the final stage at Neo Bowser Castle. And once again, the developer shows that it has run out of ideas for its game in the decision to recycle the final level of Dream Team from Paper Jam, and the difficulty curve flipped from side A to side B. The moment that I decided that the game should royally fuck itself with a bankside bollard was at the double K-Mech boss fight. After a 20-minute attempt to get it done when I was burning health items like crazy, I failed the K-Mech's background attack where you have to dismantle a barrier protecting the actual target, and the barrier is moving so damn fast that it's almost impossible to actually time attacks. So K-Mech launched the attack and killed my entire team with a blow, dishing out 150 damage to the entire squad. Here I was at a long, long boss fight attempts, spending most of it healing up after bullshit attack to bullshit attack, and the entire thing gets blown up because of a single failure at a luck-based minigame QTE. I gave the game a double middle finger, dropped the rest of it to easy mode, and walked away feeling disgusted about the time I spent with this game. I wanted to hate this game at the point. I wanted to ooze out my anger, my contempt, and my disappointment into every sentence of this review. After all this work, and all this tedium to get to this final level, and having the developer toss up 15-foot high brick wall hurdles to the next game was ridiculous. What was even worse was that if you failed getting up those hurdles, the game would then beat you to death with baseball bats and then ask your wriggling form if you'd like to drop it down to easy baby mode for babies on your next try, and you know what? I did. Yeah, I goddamn did drop it down to baby mode for babies. Not because I wanted an easy ride, no. But because I wanted the end level bosses to goddamn suffer for their stupidly designed ways. I was so goddamn sick and tired of seeing my characters dying after getting hit with 130 damage for a single failure to attacks with such little dodge windows and bad perspective that the whole skill of learning the game gets tossed out the window for blind luck. And I don't remember in those old Paper Mario games of having to constantly be sucking down healing mushrooms every fucking turn because of single attacks that can hit you for 60% of your health bar. I dropped the difficulty down not just to get through the game, but to get some revenge-based satisfaction. After dealing 350 damage to those fucksticks with one of my special attacks, and honestly, Luigi's thumbs up after a successful bro attack was the perfect thing I needed at that point. It didn't help that throughout the entire game, the Bowsers, who were supposed to be the game's antagonists, were so adamant in not giving a shit about anything that it ruined the whole game, especially the final level, with them just standing there smugly with hands on hips, declaring their obvious superiority after multiple attempts to kill them that aren't working. Could you have them doing something to care about trying to rule the world, instead of having them stand there around caring less about their ultimate plan than Alpha Dream did in cobbling together this schlock mess of a 3DS game? Sure, it was cool to see them blow the ever-living hell out of Peach's castle with their cannons, but then they go right back to pointlessly posturing and fistfights with each other. I know that Alpha Dream games are supposed to go for that lovable sort of goofiness. They're supposed to be comedy games. But here's the thing. The antagonist is not supposed to be the comic relief. Heck, in other media, they're usually being the straight man to the doofiness of the main characters. They got this completely backwards. And to be fair, after all this bile-spewing paragraphs from before, I will say that Alpha Dream has improved their comedy writing from the Dream Team disaster days, and has some enjoyable dialogue with the Toads, some decent jokes that actually land, and I think that happened because Intelligent Systems was brought on to consult with the game, and the Paper Mario style of wacky sayings does shine through on this one. But to say that only shows the ultimate failing of Mario and Luigi Paper Jam as a crossover RPG. It completely misses the chance to capture the fun of both the Paper Mario games and the Mario and Luigi series to create that blockbuster title, because neither Alpha Dream nor Intelligent has any idea of what it's doing anymore. This game creates a disservice to both series, and at worst, shows that we'll never get another Bowser's Inside Story or Thousand Year Door. This game has none of the spark, the ambition, or the creativity of both franchises it represents, and leaves the game in that same awkward position that Dream Team was in. It's a time sink game with none of the redeeming features you would expect from the brand. Ironic, since both games are a waste of time by paling in comparison to earlier titles. Games that you should just not play. It's that simple. Paper Jam and Dream Team are so bad together that their existence is insulting to the franchises they seek to represent. They both have none of the great hilarious writing, sparkling characters, or great levels to enjoy traversing, and the combat makes me want to shove the 3DS itself up someone's ass for being so fucking stupid. These games are insults to the franchise fans, because they know that these developers can do better. They both have 10 out of 10 masterpieces under their belt. But in the here and now, stupidity wins, because not only did these design mistakes happen, but they happened multiple times! Mario and Luigi Paper Jam can go to hell along with Sticker Star. Hopefully next week will give us a recent Mario game that doesn't make me want to vomit, but until next time, we'll wrap up with a final scoreboard. And wish you all a happy-go-lucky victory for gamers. Thanks for watching!